These people are confused. This needs to love God stronger. Do I love God more? Do I love me? I call it the street Jesus.
Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the Path.
And you're listening to Live from the Path. We're going to be from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston proper. Hey man, no one can hear what you're saying. Say it again. Yeah, that is what happened. Actually, and Dan's also under the weather. Hey-oh.
Dan's got the sickness.
Oh, okay, that's a different joke. Anyway.
Sorry, you guys.
Yeah, I also agree. So here's what we got going on the show tonight. So Mike, you got some Pope style advice?
I do.
Hit me with it.
It has to. I can't. It's not time yet, but it has to. Be, It has to do with the being a kingdom of priests.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Pope style advice from the Pope says, "Be a kingdom of priests."
Yeah.
Hey, so we're going to talk about. Did you guys read that article I sent you about the missionary?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this guy. Doggone it!
It came up at work. People brought it up.
Oh, really? Like, did they want to know what you wanted to say about it?
Yeah.
Oh man, was it like a harassment?
Well, I mean, kind of. They thought it goes. What do you just go up there and say Jesus? You know.
That is what he did.
Yeah, and I said, well, I mean, to be honest, I mean that's only the Greek transliteration of his name. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it wasn't even its original form. You know, you at least out like, oh Joshua, you know, or whatever. I mean, just if you go at least Hebrew, right? You know, you at least pump it out, but.
Yeah. So anyway, so there was the American Christian missionary went on a remote island. Shoot, I was trying to remember where it's at or what it was called. North Sentinel Island last week, just off India, in the Andaman Islands in India, and it's off limits. You're not allowed to go on there. Like, it's illegal to travel there because there's like 150, 200 natives there, and they're trying to protect their society from getting diseases. Right, so like you could just wander in there just to take a look and then bring some disease and wipe them out.
Yep.
And they believe they've been hanging. Of course, their estimate is like 10,000 years. Well, in either case, they're cordoned off, and so it's illegal to go over there. And this guy trucks in and he says, "Look, they still need Jesus, so I'm heading in." So we're going to talk about that because I actually saw a pretty mixed bag of reactions, and I have a question. I have a question related to it, so we're going to talk about that. Also, do you guys remember? I want to say maybe a year back or so, we were talking about that Chinese system of like of points, of like a credit system, a moral credit system.
I'm pretty sure it was above my head, Ben.
Buva, do you remember that discussion?
Buva wasn't here.
I wasn't.
So the deal was, it's like China. It's like a video game, but for people. So if you do things that the government approves of, you get basically positive points. If you do things that the government doesn't approve of, like smoking or jaywalking, they take points away. Okay, so the point is that like they're going to use basically the social credit system to think of it to unlock or restrict what you can do, and we said, boy, man, that seems really like totalitarian action, and what will this be? Yeah, and so anyway, there's an update on it where they're actually they're using it.
Oh,
and so and they're looking to have it kind of full force here in a few years, but they've started blacklisting some people from public transport. And so anyway, I thought we'd talk about that.
yeah, that sounds all right. We don't have any system like that in America.
No, not yet. Yeah. Working on it.
Hey, I'm doubling down on my adopt a migrant. I feel like I ran this by a couple more people this week. I'm super excited about it because this immigration thing up with this group of people trying to make their way.
I feel like I got to go down there.
To the Tijuana?
I don't trust anybody. I don't. So like again, I have a pretty diverse cross section of social media folk.
Are you talking about?
Stop saying that. No, it's not what I'm saying. But anyway, like some people are hey, you know, they just they're fleeing from real persecution and they're seeking asylum like people would. Our country was based on that, and like they're needy. They're dragging their kids across. It's very difficult. And then you got another group of people who are like they're all criminals. they're all just brutish criminals. Hey, it's full of women and children. Hey, no, it's not. It's full of dudes. I'm like, this has to be easily provable.
Yeah.
Like, what you need a drone in a couple hours, and I feel like you can sort some of this out. But here's the I don't trust things. I don't trust what people are telling me in any news source on any section. And so the only thing I can figure out is I have to go down there.
You know, this is where TV's really let us down, right? Because you watch like these crime shows or 24. You're like, got eyes and ears everywhere, and we can't bypass the Sentinel Island tribe folks who seem to have outgunned us with spears. Because I mean, the man's body is still there.
Yeah, right.
We can't outflank them. We can't seem to come up with a way to handle this correctly. And then there's an undetermined amount of cloud migrants rolling towards the country, and no one can develop the cross-section demographic on who exactly is there. I mean, we've been tracking them for like weeks. You know what I'm saying? The story's been a big deal for weeks, and we couldn't have just flown a copter over the top and go, I bet that's 50% kids. You know, something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, just give me a live feed. You
So-
know, somebody's got to have an Obama phone down there.
I mean, do you think they actually don't know that information, or it's a misinformation type of thing?
Yeah, I think people are lying to me. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Like it is a misinformation thing. But here's why I don't know who's lying to me. The truth is in the middle somewhere. And so here's the thing that's likely to be the case, right? It's like there's likely to be a group of people who desperately need help, and then there's likely to be some sort of cartel of brigands in there.
Yeah.
And how the hell am I supposed to know the difference? Because one news story wants to say, oh, yes, it's women and children. They need our help. And I'm like, oh, yes, they do. And then the other news section wants to say, it's full of vile brigands. And I'm like, keep them out. I don't want any brigands in here.
Yeah.
And then I'm screwed. I'm screwed. Because I'm a legit. Here's the problem. It's hard to be a reasonable person in this area. Because, like, if someone was telling you the truth, then you could react to the truth and say, yes, help people that need help. Don't let people in who are going to cause trouble. It is that, like, everyone agrees to these things. What we can't seem to shake out is who actually makes up these parties.
Actually, it's true. Almost every big situation, and even actually the small ones, it all boils down to someone telling some half version of the truth, right? People show up at your house and they're like, I got kicked out of my apartment and I don't have any place to live and I'm super hungry. What you left out is that you've been drinking for 10 years and didn't pay your rent.
Right. That's why you got booted.
Like, you didn't tell me the truth. You didn't show up and say, hey, I need help with my drinking problem. You acted like the house thing was the deal. And it wasn't. It was an offshoot of the drinking problem. And so, like, people, they just don't want to tell you the deal so you could deal with it honestly.
Yeah. That is the rub, right? It's a series of half truths, and we've gotten all used to it. Like, I'm going to tell part of the story. And then, I mean, it's exhaustive to tell a whole story. But damn it, you need to tell the whole story.
Well, I mean, if you want a real fix, you got to tell a real story, right? Like you can't if you address the outskirts of the problem, then you might solve the outskirts of the problem, but you're just going to produce more outskirts because the real problem still exists.
Yeah.
And so the same is true with the migrant folks. Like if it's ladies and children and even dudes willing to submit to the authority of the United States, then okay.
Then figure it out. Go through the process, figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to come over and start bombing rocks at windows or whatever, yeah, you could stay put. We don't want no rock bombers over here.
All right. Anyway, that wasn't even on the docket. And then there was a story, and we'll lead with this. The New York Post, and I thought, like, it was interesting. I saw a couple people post this, and no one made what I consider to be the appropriate reference. But this is from the November 24th article in the New York Post. It says, turns out all of humanity is related to a single couple. No. And you think to yourself, you don't say. So here's the story. It says, a new study revealed that all humans are descendants of the same man and woman who lived 100,000 to 200,000 years ago. Our communal mom and dad got together after a catastrophic event almost wiped out the human race, the Daily Mail reported of the study. The researchers studied the DNA of 5 million animals, including humans, to come to their conclusions. They also found that every 9 out of 10 animals came from the same original creatures.
Hey, man, who's the 1 out of 10?
I was gonna say,
Is it the narwhal?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
It doesn't.
Platypus.
It does not speak to it. So it says, the research showed that humans have very low genetic diversity and variance within the species, similar to many other animals. The report comes out of Rockefeller University and the University of Basel, Switzerland, published by the journal Human Evolution.
Oh. I mean, they sound like they would be staunchly against our standing.
No, so they might otherwise agree to the same thing. Like it doesn't debunk that from their perspective a premise that says humans otherwise evolved from a different organism. But what they're saying is after that occurred, some sort of catastrophic event happened, wiped almost everybody out, left 2 different gendered folks in, and then they repopulated the earth. Now here's the thing. It's starting to stretch a bit. It's because that's the only way you can come to that conclusion, right? Because like your general thought would be is that if you're all kind of evolving from these from simpler organisms. Yeah, at some point you're going to happen to come across two of which can produce a similar line with no genetic diversity, right? Where that persists and the stuff around it does not. But the question is like, is the catastrophic event like you must need that for something to remain true. Otherwise, like that's a real wild card. Like that's not a scientific thing. Hey, we think something crazy happened without other proof that's not related to this study. Like to include it in the study, it's a bit of a wild card.
You know, I really wish I knew more about the theory of evolution, right? Like communal evolution is hard for me to grasp. Like, I mean, it's possible that you get one fish that goes, you know what, legs, definitely. But like, how does he communicate this to other fish and go, wheel some legs in? We should adapt for legs, and another fish agrees and goes, yes, I agree.
That's not how it works, Mike.
And then they sprout
it's not
them
even
out.
purported with how it works.
I mean, yeah, but what drives the need for evolution, right? And what makes it happen at the same time? So there's a male and female.
It's not so like
now available.
The prospect is that happens iteratively over thousands and thousands.
So
of years.
there's useless legs that trailed the fish for a while until
it's
finally one dude figured it out.
It's small changes in genetics that come over 1,000-year period.
Yeah, but there has to be a point in time where it goes, I breathe through my gills, or I breathe through my lungs.
Yeah, exactly.
And one brave soul that stormed the beach and said, yes, this is the deal.
So you think that there was some fish Normandy that happened where they just one day went, let's do this.
Here's what I'm saying.
We
you
have
put,
prepared
You
long
could put
enough.
it on this ethereal chart or whatever and be like, yes, this happened. But like, it's just like we have a hard time grasping some of the stories in the Bible as actual events.
Right.
But at some point, the man-fish had to roll out and come onto the beach and go, I'm going to use these extra organs that I don't comprehend and this weird vestigial toe-looking operation like that, and then I'm going to just march onto the dry land and go, turns out I can survive here. I wish someone would have told me. One of them animals had to do it.
Well, from what I understand, there's evolution and adaptation happen because of necessity. Like it changes because either they're not getting something they need to be living, air, food, water, whatever, and they have to strive for that. Like giraffes being able to reach tall trees.
So that part does not. That's actually the part that I really struggle with. That part doesn't make sense to me because, let's say, I saw that on a kids program once. They were talking about giraffes and they say, well, giraffes they got the long necks because they need to be able to get to the food. If I'm supposed to take in evolution as something that's happened incrementally over thousands and thousands of years,
that would be a
like
dead species.
that means they would have died by then.
Right.
Like, and
It can't
secondly,
exist.
it assumes that there's a persistence inside the will of the animal to say, my next shell will be bigger.
Right.
Yeah.
Not like happenstance, not random, like it says. Because what they would say then is that, like, well, only the ones with the tall necks would survive. But like, it's a circular argument because obviously it wouldn't have the tall neck except for random happenstance, and there's no way some kind of lynx-looking creature with a normal head like suddenly birthed a giant like 6-foot head and went, well, I'll be damned. I can reach this now. And then some other crazy lynx goes, you know what, I'm going to copulate with that giant neck one over there and see if we can persist on this beast because we can reach things.
And if you're talking about evolution, you're evolving into something that can have compound thought and take in the world as it is. Have you met a fish? I mean, that idiot gets sucked in the filter tube. I mean, every time you buy a new goldfish, he goes honk, and there he blocks the filter tube that cleans his water, and he dies there, right? And so it would have to be a fish that can look at the wherewithal and go, weather patterns are changing, and it seems to me the depth of this ocean seems to be sinking a bit. Maybe we should sprout legs and lungs, and then we should toop out. And
then 85 million years later, we have us.
And then all of a sudden, here we are. Like, it just you're impressing so much upon the brains and willpower for nature to change itself. I mean, honestly, of all the things that people could change, we'd change all kinds of stuff. Male pattern baldness wouldn't exist. It's been going on for 100 years. You'd figure that in 1910, at least one of the dudes that on our benefit would go, we got to get this hair back. It was definitely helpful.
Yeah.
Just think about it really, really hard.
If there was an inertia within individuals to otherwise make things happen, there'd be warmer heads and longer willies going across the place.
Exactly.
And that's what would be happening.
Yeah. And what kind of guy would go like, you know what, sunburns? I love them. I hope we get more pasty and white. You know what I'm saying? We would have evolved to something different. It's weird.
I don't know enough about it. I'm just saying that there's things that I'm not grasping.
Now granted, we're presenting the argument in a cartoon style way that makes it sound ridiculous. I'm sure there's some better science on it than I'm grasping, but like on its face, if you look at it in its entirety, it's just hard to take in.
It's the core thing is the presence of the will, the presence of a compound thought and a will or an inertia within something that doesn't mix with the happenstance. That like I get it. I get the logic of things happening incrementally over thousands of years, but you cannot combine that with a animal that says, oh, you know what? If I were only a little bit taller, then things would be better. I hope this works out.
Yeah, and as long as you're growing taller, shouldn't you develop like an armadillo type shield on you so people can't attack you from the side?
Yeah, we're so single-minded.
Yeah. You know.
I want to be the rhinoceros and the giraffe.
Yeah, I want the high leaves. I mean, what made our a particular version of evolution take off, right? And then here's the giraffe unprotected, eating high leaves, looking up at the sky all the time. Yeah. He should have grown a shield of some sort.
And then I actually, you know, ultimately what comes to is I look at the process and say, I freaking failed. We've evolved into a place of which we're creating organisms that will destroy themselves. That's us, right? Like at some point, it's a false improvement, right? Because like we could say, oh, like, look at all the improvements, and humanity is the top of the chain. But like, there's no other animal that destroys its own habitat.
Yeah.
There's no other animal that destroys itself. There's no other animal that has the frailty that our emotions have. And you think to yourself, like, in what world is it? See, we think it's positive because it feels like us, because it's like it's a very narrow way of looking at life that says it must be the greatest of all things because it's all of our attributes. But like they talk about how did emotions evolve, and I'm like, I'm not sure that these are overall beneficial. Like, what did we gain having emotions, like a deeper sense of, except for to reflect to a creator God? And then I get it. But like past that, the argument, one, of where they come from, but two, of like not like, hey, what can we do now, but does it actually benefit? There has to be a secondary measure of what is actually good, not just what is different, which is what we tend to measure on, hey, it evolved because it's different. But like, I don't know that it's always good.
No, I mean, when you have the option to say, you know, sometimes a man will step back and go, you know what, I feel like a simpler life would be just so much easier on me, right? Because the giraffe doesn't worry about existential crises or wonder why he was created. He goes, leaves. Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I'll have some.
Yes. That sounds good. Glad they're not lower.
Bruce is at that one. He will not let me have some. I will
wait,
find
my
another.
neck bends. I'll get the lower ones too. I mean, it just don't make any sense.
All right. So anyway, that's the New York Post. All humanity is related to a single couple. I wanted to go read the study, and then I'm also kind of interested on. I'm sure there's rebuttals to it or something. It'd be kind of interesting to check out. But I'm not going to drag you through that.
Noah, you old flirt.
All right. Here we go. China blacklists millions of people from booking flights as social credit system is introduced.
Yeah.
Here's the information. Millions of Chinese nationals have been blocked from booking flights or trains as Beijing seeks to implement its controversial social credit system, which allows the government to closely monitor and judge each of its 1.3 billion citizens based upon their behavior and activity. The system, to be rolled out by 2020, aims to make it, quote, difficult to move for those deemed untrustworthy, according to the detailed plan published by the government this week. It will be used to reward or punish people and organizations for trustworthiness across a range of measures. A key part of the plan not only involves blacklisting people with low social credibility scores, but also publicly disclosing the records of enterprises and individuals' untrustworthiness on a regular basis. The plan stated, we will improve the credit blacklist system, publicly disclose the records of enterprises and individuals' untrustworthiness on a regular basis, and form a pattern of distrust and punishment. For those deemed untrustworthy, everywhere is limited, and it is difficult to move so that those who violate the law and lose the trust will pay a heavy price. Additional detail. The credit system is already being rolled out in some areas, and in recent months, the Chinese state has blocked millions of people from booking flights and high-speed trains. According to the state-run news outlet Global Times, as of May this year, the government had blocked 11.14 million people from flights and 4.25 million from taking high-speed train trips. The state has also begun to clamp down on luxury options. 3 million people are barred from getting business-class train tickets, according to the China News Asia. The aim, according to Hao Yunqin, former deputy director of the Development Research Center of the State Council, is to make discredited people become bankrupt, he said earlier this year. The eastern state of Hangzhou, southwest of Shanghai, is one area where a social credit system is already in place. Okay, here we go. People are awarded credit points for activities such as undertaking volunteer work and giving blood donations, while those who violate traffic laws and charge under-the-table fees are punished. Other infractions reportedly include smoking in non-smoking zones, buying too many video games, and posting fake news online.
Holy cow.
Punishments are not clearly detailed in the government plan, but beyond making travel difficult, are also believed to include slowing internet speeds, reducing access to good schools for individuals or their children, banning people from certain jobs, preventing booking at certain hotels, and losing the right to own pets. When plans for the social credit scheme were first announced in 2014, the government said the aim was to broadly shape the thick atmosphere in the entire society that keeping trust is glorious and breaking trust is disgraceful. As well as the introduction in Beijing, the government plans a rapid national rollout. We will implement a unified system of credit rating codes nationwide, the country's latest 5-year plan stated.
You know, here's the thing. As a Christ follower, this is it's an abomination, right? Because to not let the right hand know what the left hand is doing, like to say volunteer work, like it is to your benefit in China to report that you're doing it.
Oh, yeah, right.
Otherwise, you're in big trouble. But like this broad sweeping thing where it says, look, if I can't trust you not to smoke in a non-smoking area, then I don't trust you to have a pet because you obviously make bad decisions across the board. These are the kind of sweeping judgments that I enjoy because it seems that here's the thing. Here's why I say this is because I was talking to a fella earlier this week about, I think it was my kids. I was talking to my kids this week. It was about drunk driving. They didn't understand what drunk driving was because they didn't understand what drunkenness was all about because they don't run into that many of them, obviously. But they said, so if you break a traffic law, what happens? What's the worst? And I said, well, if you get caught drunk driving or whatever, it's like a $10,000 fine or whatever, and it's a real big deal. It kind of brings your life to a halt for a little while. And they're like, well, why wouldn't they just put you in prison for life? Wouldn't less people do it? I'm like, yeah, I think they would. So, I mean, to a certain extent, we like to believe in redemption for your soul and for your life and following Christ, that you can be parlayed the cost of your sin for your eternal soul. But here on earth, if you drunk drive, you should go to jail for life, and then we'll see a downtick. People will not take the risk, and you say, well, no, I don't think that's the case. People will continue to drunk drive. Here's the deal. If you could get away with murdering a man and you knew it was only going to cost you 6 months in prison, the murders would go up. People just don't want to pay the price for doing what they want to do. And so the same is true with some of the crimes that we tend to tolerate. You know, the stuff that we say, it's acceptable, but only to the tune of this if you get caught doing it. It's the same reason no one cares about a speeding ticket. Yeah, go ahead, ring me up. You know, I'll take the whatever $65 fine plus court costs. I have places to go today, and the odds of you catching me are pretty low, and so we're not worried about it. And the same thing can be true, like the social justice thing in China it's a marked thing. Like, stop smoking in not smoking areas. Otherwise, you can't have a pet. We're not going to let you stay at the hotel. Well, maybe you'll think twice about doing that. Booba, what do you think? You behind this plan?
No.
Why not?
Absolutely
Come on.
not. No. I don't know.
You want more liberties to make mistakes. You would not like to live your life intentionally.
The freedom to smoke on a dog.
Yeah.
The freedom to smoke on a dog? Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
combination of the two crimes.
Why should I help people? I don't want to volunteer. I just want to be me.
I get why they're doing it. Makes sense why they're doing it. But I still don't agree with it. Like, I just the concept of the social crediting system, I feel, is so corruptible. It scares me. Because
The trustworthy system itself is untrustworthy.
absolutely, because
Okay.
people are involved.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is someone has to make, and that means that someone can be swayed. That means that the right money in the wrong place can make this a bad deal. It's too easy to sway people with money, and I'm afraid that there are people that will try and take advantage of this from an extortion perspective, and putting money out and saying, I don't like that person, and so I'm going to put a little bit of pressure, whether it's intimidation pressures, persuasion, or bribery, on the right people to make that person's life much harder. And that way they have to do something for them. The right person with the right amount of money can go, I'm trying to do business with someone. They're not willing to do business with me. So I'm going to go to the council or whoever makes this decision about social credibility and can make things happen, can fib up data or whatever they need to do to make this person's social credit score go down, so that if you're not doing business with me, well, that's fine. You can make that choice. But now you can't book hotels. And now you can't fly out of the country to do your international business.
Do you feel like it would lead to a lot of childish things, like you rolling by a guy and say, hey, man, can you hold this cigarette for me for a minute? And then you run away and take a picture of him, drag him in a not-smoking area.
I distrust humanity enough to know that I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I mean, I don't think that's the biggest systemic problem with it is me running over to Mike and going, hey, man, can you hold this Marlboro for me real quick? Oh, no, smoking and a non-smoking.
Yeah, I submit this to the authorities.
Oh, did you say you wanted to book that hotel? Oh, I wanted to make sure there was a spot for
Can
me.
you
So now
imagine
you're
if
taking
you?
a cigarette.
I mean, one small infraction, right? Like you jump the turnstile, or you ran the turnstile and you thought you paid, but it kicked your quarter out after you'd passed, right? And all of a sudden you get slower internet speeds, and you're like,
Right,
what?
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
It's this weird causation where I get what they're trying to institute, and I understand that they're trying to make a social system that doesn't necessarily depend on prisons and on fining itself. It's ultimately, if you do these things, we will make your life harder.
I mean, they're not saying we will not put you in prison or camps.
No,
or
and
whatever.
I get that. I'm just saying, like, infractions that would normally cause a fine or nothing,
Listen here.
like not doing community service, are now being penalized from that perspective rather than actually getting a fine or going to prison. There's still criminal institutions, but
Right.
they're implementing this social institution to further something.
I think you just want to do untrustworthy things.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, no, I am completely against this, not for the fact that it could be completely corruptible and take away actual legitimate freedom, only because I thrive in untrustworthiness. You're absolutely right, Mike.
Yes.
I couldn't be more transparent with
More
that.
of a virus.
Thank you for reminding me on multiple occasions tonight that I am indeed a virus, and I need to have a social credit system to make certain that I'm doing the right things, like not smoking on my dog. Ben, what are your thoughts on
I
this,
think
man?
we're being way too light. This is absolutely preposterous.
Ben,
Agreed.
It is preposterous.
this has merit coming out the wazoo.
It is a society without grace, for one. Right? It doesn't allow the breath or humanity to breathe a bit. Secondly, Boo was absolutely correct. The assessments are crazy subjective. Do things we like. Who's the we? Do things we don't like. Get punishment. You tell me what this means for your underground churches in China. You tell me what that means.
They're already under persecution.
I know.
And as long as they don't smoke in non-smoking areas, they should be fine.
But here's the thing: is
No,
it's
they're
like,
just going to be murdered.
you've opened up the avenue in which to punish them differently, right? So, like, if you can't charge them for a crime because, for example, the world would be outraged. You and I'll never hear about the fact that they got their internet taken away, the fact that no one can own a pet, the fact that basically you're taking away social graces that are related to them. It's awful.
You know, to add something that's kind of similar, have you guys ever heard the show Black Mirror on Netflix?
No.
It's a phenomenal show that I actually really enjoy. It's kind of like a new age Twilight Zone, if you will. But there was one episode where they introduced this concept of a voting system from a social media perspective. And so, like, you had a score, if you will, based off of, like, your interactions with people. And so, like, if you had a good interaction with someone that served you coffee, you can go to their profile, if you will, and you know, click a yes, or they did good, and vote them up. And then if you did something wrong, you could be voted down. And this gal is, like, super high up, and she just got this new apartment because she finally got voted to a high enough place, and she got invited to this super cool party, and that was why her voter score went up immensely. And then, like, one bad day happened, and she went from this super high score to the super low score, and she couldn't catch a flight, and she wasn't able to have a high enough score to get a rental car and all this different stuff. And, like, it had tragic repercussions that happened in this gal's life because of this social rating system that was based on society's thoughts on you, so you could go in and rate someone down. And it kind of explained this whole concept of if we don't have legitimacy in the rating system, but we do from a social media perspective. And this just kind of takes that to one step further, which is this is a government-run social accreditation program that has complete control and actual physical repercussions to your life. And I don't believe that the government should have that much power over its people. The government is not there to govern to that micro level from a morality perspective, because you break it down, that's what this is. It's if you're being trustworthy or immoral. And now we're giving this government, this huge government, power over 1.4 billion people. Is that what it said? 1.3 billion people to make judgment calls on their life, whether or not they are moral enough.
I find it weird they won't let them travel. You know, wouldn't that what you would want, the unsavories
get
to
out.
travel out?
The goal is to shame them, right? Like
Right.
everyone else can take this route, not Shangzhou. He has to walk or take a cab or something.
Or you just can't leave.
It's it's a restriction and it's a shaming mechanism. And so think of how easy it is for.
Now, hold on. No, you just hold on a minute.
That's right.
Now listen to this. Let's say that it was incorruptible.
It's not. No, it's not.
It's
Okay.
incorruptible.
Uh-huh.
Do we still have a problem with this?
Yes.
Whatever circumstance that allows it to be incorruptible would also mean it's unnecessary.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then
What
you
do
can
you mean?
trust everyone
Yeah.
because it's incorruptible.
That's right. If
And then we don't need a social credit system to gauge
because it
trustworthiness.
means that means if you got busted, say smoking in the non-smoking area, you did it on purpose because you were just trying to put it to the man. You didn't accidentally walk through it. You stood there and you smoked in the old folks' home. And you did it on purpose, and now you ain't traveling.
so basically all crimes are willful.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's still a problem.
Yeah, because there's a criminal system in place that allows this, or that is already there.
So you're saying
There are
you'd
criminal.
you would rather have them just make these things a crime if that's what they're going to call them. Just
Well,
make it a crime.
I think it already is. I think if you're smoking in a non-smoking section, I'm sure there's a fine.
What was one of the other offenses, Ben?
So we oh, I didn't say. Hold
It
on.
was smoking in a non-smoking section.
Not volunteering. No, that was a plus.
Yeah,
Did they do the pluses in the
No,
negative?
I think if you don't volunteer, it's a minus.
Oh.
That's how I took that.
Yeah, because the questions are you're either trustworthy or untrustworthy.
Right. It's not whether or not you are criminal or not. it's a morality judgment. It's your social credit score, and it's all dependent on how moral you are. It's trying to incentivize morality in an impossible way. You can't affect people just based off of carrot and stick. Like that's ridiculous. That hasn't happened and worked forever.
That's because the donkey evolved to a human and said, I will get my own
The fish
carrot."
went one day and be like, "Hey man, you know what would be awesome? Feet."
I mean, we incentivize things. We incentivize social behavior by, for example, taxation. Right? So like we say, hey, we think people should have kids. So they give tax credits for having children.
Yes.
So that is what we use. So it's not like the U.S. government doesn't have a finger in saying, here's the stuff we want to promote, here's the stuff we don't want to
But
promote.
at least most of the time, that's kind of at least partly behind an economical reason. Like that's bolstering the economy. Is that tax cuts?
I mean, the Chinese can certainly make the same argument. It's to their economic benefit. It's more beneficial to them economically if you have a populace who is otherwise trustworthy.
no, it's not. It's more beneficial for them to have a populace that's not trustworthy, so they can continue to find them and have a criminal system.
You can't find people that are untrustworthy.
You
Boofer.
can
They
find
stop
someone
paying the
who's
fine.
smoking in a non-smoking
No,
section.
it's cheaper. Listen here. You're thinking of this all wrong. If I have a trustworthy populace, I need half the number of enforcement officers, right? I don't need a bunch of clerks processing payments downtown.
You're also not taking in
Okay, I suppose that's fair, but I don't know.
So, yeah, Booba, you're,
It's still wrong, Booba.
Ben,
I
you're
agree.
on the same side as Ben, Booba.
No, but I
I
understand.
know
where
why
you're
it's
coming from
wrong. It's because it is corruptible, and even if it wasn't corruptible, it lacks mercy.
Well, and so does our laws. You still go to jail for stealing. It doesn't mean you can't be forgiven for it, but you still got to go to jail.
Yeah, you're right. But you've waded into to minor crime, right? Like
What you consider to be minor crime.
like there are things. Yes, what I consider to be minor crime, like smoking in a non-smoking area.
Why? I mean, why even have the area if people are just going to do whatever the heck they want?
So I guess, Mike, from that perspective, like, would you say all crimes should have a minimum sentence of 5 years in prison?
Yeah.
No option.
Yeah.
Wow.
You want to cut down on jaywalking? I mean, enforce it. Put them in. Here's the thing. People are like, it's not that big. You know what's not a big deal? Going to the crosswalk and then walking across at the right place.
Have you ever actually been fined or anything for jaywalking?
No.
Okay, good.
It's not even enforceable.
It's
But
ridiculous.
here's the thing: it's like if you want to create impotent laws, then put no teeth behind them. If you want people to obey them, put some teeth behind them. And what you'll get is the populace going, the punishment is too severe. Although you committed the crime, why don't you just behave yourself and not do the wrong thing?
Man, I don't think I've disagreed with you for so much on something for a long time.
Why do you want to break laws, Booba? Why can't you just behave yourself?
Is that the logical conclusion to this to you? Is if I don't agree with your minimum
think if you could
5-year sentencing thing, that it's automatically because I'm immoral?
I'm just saying, is there that big of a difference between just obeying the law? I don't agree with this Chinese thing, right? But like on the whole of it, I mean, we give ourselves so much grace for just flat out not doing the right thing. Because
that's true.
Because we don't want to. And so
I
the
can't
only way
refute that.
only way people are incentivized is by punishment. Is to say, if you do this, we will be forced to do this.
I tell you what, the next time I get caught speeding, I will make certain to tell the officer that I believe that I should have a 5-year sentence, that he needs to take me.
Hey, I'm gonna let you off easy. No, you are not.
Tell me if you didn't know it was a 5-year sentence that you wouldn't have sped in the first place.
Oh, I agree with the fact that if every crime ends up having a 5-year sentence, more people are probably going to go, I don't want to do that.
It is social. I mean, here's the thing. It's short-sighted. So, like, let's say...
Excuse me.
Hold on.
Hold on. Are you accusing me of being... Are you calling me short-sighted?
Yes. No. Well, yes. And,
Yes.
And the Chinese system.
You're lucky that's not against the law.
It's short-sighted.
Hand him a cigarette in a non-smoking area. His social credit will go down, and he can't go to Shangzhou or whatever.
So
it was.
yeah. So Shang Zi over here is a speeder. Okay, he's a speeder, and now his kids can't go to the better schools. How is that positive?
That's a terrible thing.
Right, like that. Like it's short-sighted to say to punish Shang Zi. I wish to restrict his children from becoming more productive members of society.
Okay, ready? A counterexample. Chang Zi is a sluggard who doesn't get a job. Now his kids can't go to better schools. Both are preventable. Shang Zi could get a job. Shang Zi could stop speeding. Both are preventable according to him. He just does not do it.
Shang Zi is speeding to get to that job.
I see. So Shang Zi can't get up early enough. Still on him. Still onus on him.
So I don't disagree, but like, the question is it proportionate? Is it proportionate to say speeder, because he's a speeder, he no longer can take the fast train or visit his parents?
Yes. Is it proportionate to say that a man who doesn't work doesn't eat?
Yes, but those two things are connected.
Yeah.
Whether he's a speeder and whether he can visit his parents.
How are we
not
supposed
connected.
to trust you on public transit if we can't trust you in your own vehicle to go a regular speed? Maybe you're going to get on the train and get in the buck wild. We don't know what you're going to do. You have a tendency
man,
to break laws.
I have sped before, and I've never assaulted someone on a train, a plane, or any kind of public transportation.
Because you are afraid of the consequences.
Here's the deal. The underlying thought here is that you're a bad character.
Yes.
Basically, a bad hombre does bad things. A good hombre does good things.
Yes.
If you smoke in a non-smoking area,
You're
you
obviously
kick
gonna murder
dogs,
someone someday.
poke old ladies in the face, and become nude on the train. That's what you're saying.
None of it is circumstantial. It is all connected. You either bend one way within your political and or moral alignment, or the other.
Okay, here's what I'm saying.
Everyone's a bad Leroy Brown or the good guy.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. That's the definition of a good hombre. Why is he good? Because he does good things most of the time. That's what makes him good.
Although, like it's shoot. Now I'm gonna have to read it. I can't. It's the thing's not rendering fast enough for me to get it from the Chinese into the English. But like, it's a crediting system, right? So I could speed 5 times and then give blood. And so,
Right.
so the question is that like, how do you keep? Now it's interesting what kind of balance you keep. Is like, well, if you give enough money to X, Y, Z, then then basically you're paying to be able to commit crimes.
It's the paying for indulgences that happen in the church.
That's
So
right.
t- so
It's
t-
Catholicism.
Yeah, but tell me it's not the
It is
old
Chinese Catholicism.
It's the sacrificial system. You commit sins, you kill a bird and 2 goats. Are you paying to continue sinning? Would you have the same discredit towards that system?
No, but you can't do it in advance. All sacrifices, like all sin, costs the same.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
I'll
You can't
request-
like kill 5 goats and say I'm in the black. Now I can commit sin.
That's right. I can smack Doug in the face, and the Lord can speak nothing on it because I already gave him 5 goats to cover.
4 goats. Who's next?
Yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. I'll have to check. I mean, maybe we're misrepresenting the Chinese social system.
I mean, here's the thing: I'm on a tangent, obviously, because I don't think this is actually a good idea. But be honest, that's where my Pope style advice was heading. It had to do with being a kingdom of priests and giving ourselves way too much grace on what we expect out of ourselves and what we expect out of other people. And like sometimes I think we just set the bar way too low and go, look, if you're not supposed to speed, stop doing that. Just don't do it. And don't go, whoops, I sped because I weighed the consequences out, figured they're probably not going to catch me. And even if they do, I haven't had a speeding ticket in 4 years. It won't go on my license, blah, 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 it's $75. Yeah, I'll speed. I'll do it. And then you do it. You don't have any respect for the law that was there in the first place or the authority that gave it. You just said, I'll do what I want this time. And it's half the problems that we end up when people find themselves drifting away from the kingdom of God. It's for those exact reasons. You said, I'm going to trade what God says is good and great. Obviously, the Chinese government is not in the same position to have an omniscient authority to say what is good and what is not. But God is, and God says, this is what is good, and this is what my character is. And we go, I think I'll do what I want this time, as long as I can come back at some point. And you do it anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is a much more firmer realization of the fact that like things have consequences, right? But to I mean, I'm going to side hug Mike's point here without otherwise snuggling up to it, is to say that, like, this validates that things have consequences, right? Is to say, hey, if I'm going to smoke in the non-smoking section, the guy's like, well, you can't have a dog. And we're outraged that there's even a consequence. We're not outraged at whatever the consequence is.
You say, all I did was smoke in the non-smoking section.
All I did was violate, right, so that's how I would say it. All I did was smoke in the non-smoking section, whereas the right rendering is all you did was violate the law. They said don't do this, you did it anyway, and now you're aghast at in fact, how many times you have this same conversation with your children? We're like, hey, we told you not to do this thing, you did the thing. I don't understand what you're surprised at here.
Yeah.
This is the consequence of the thing.
It's
you shouldn't
unfair
have done it.
that you're punishing me for blah, blah, blah. And you said these were freestanding laws. It's always been the case here that you can't hit your sister and call her Scooby-Doo. And so you did it. And so consequence, blah, happens. And so it shouldn't have been a shocker. You can't really be upset about it. It's not a surprise. You broke the deal. So that's the whole sum total, I guess. Is like what they're trying to do is obviously can't be trusted in human hands to do. But our reaction to it, I think you just got to watch it a little bit. I think you got to watch why you're reacting to it. You're saying my sin shouldn't cost that much. When I go against whatever has been set out, it shouldn't cost me like it does. But it should. You should just stop doing it.
Right, it's a fight for no consequences.
Yes. Yeah, you want to be able to do this thing and whatever, and without any consequences. You say, it's not even connected. The train's not connected to smoking in the smoking section. Well, you should have smoked in the smoking section, and you would never have found out. You would never know what it's like to have to ride the slow train to Shanghai because you decided to smoke in the non-smoking section.
Right.
Hey, Mike, can you write me a song called The Slow Train to Shanghai?
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's going to be fantastic.
I'm excited for it.
All right, John Chau, 26, was shot dead with arrows when he went to the remote North Sentinel Island last week. It was one of the world's most isolated regions in India's Andaman Islands and is off limits to visitors. Chau had paid local fishermen to help him get to the island last Thursday. He was shot at, but safely able to return to the boat, where he penned a letter to his parents and several journal entries about his initial encounter. Chau detailed how he was committed to teaching the tribe about Jesus. In a letter dated November 16th, Chau asked his parents not to be mad at the tribe or at God if he was killed. After he returned to the island the following day, fishermen said they saw the tribesmen dragging Chau's body away. Let's see. So he was shot dead. He basically he said, I want to share Jesus with them. He said, you guys might think I'm crazy and all this, but I think it's worth it to declare Jesus to these people. He wrote in a letter to his parents, please do not be angry at them or at God if I get killed. Rather, please live your lives in obedience to whatever he has called you to, and I'll see you again when you pass through the veil. This is not a pointless thing. The eternal lives of this tribe is at hand, and I can't wait to see them around the throne of God, worshiping in their own language, as Revelations 7, 9 to 10 states. I love you all, and I pray none of you love anything in this world more than Jesus Christ. Chau signed off the letter with his name and Soli Deo Gloria, which is Latin for glory to God alone. The letter was dated November 16th, which is one day after the fishermen said they first took him to the island. Here's what happened. He went ashore in his kayak on the 15th, and he sent the boat with the fishermen out to sea to avoid detection. He interacted with some of the tribe's people, offering gifts such as a football and fish. But they became angry and shot an arrow at him, hitting a book he was carrying. That was his Bible. After his kayak was damaged, Chau swam back to the fisherman's boat, which was waiting at a prearranged location. He spent the night writing about his experience in journal pages and then that he gave to the fishermen. He set out again to meet tribespeople on November 16th and never returned. The following day, the fishermen watched from a distance as the tribesmen dragged Chau's body away. He detailed how he tried to offer fish to the tribesmen before two armed sentinelese came rushing out yelling. He said he came face to face with the islanders and at one point was just inches away. They had 2 arrows each, unstrung, until they got closer. I hollered, my name is John, I love you, and Jesus loves you. That's what he wrote in his journal. I regret I began to panic slightly as I saw them string arrows in their bows. I picked up the fish and I threw it toward them, and they kept coming. This was the first time he ran away. It said, I paddled like I never have in my life back to the boat. I felt some fear, but mainly was disappointed. They didn't accept me right away. Okay. So anyway, so the core question then is, the reaction I saw from a lot of people was, this was dumb. This was dumb. He shouldn't have been there. There's no reason for him to go about this, and he's an idiot. What was your reaction to the same story? Is he dumb?
Well, actually, so I teeter back and forth. Is my initial reaction when reading the story was, yes, this sounds like something we would be up to. I don't know that I thought the tact was any good, right? Like,
what else he gonna do?
I don't know. Maybe I
mean, I saw some guys who were like, hey, man, he should have tried something different, like dropping leaflets. Like they don't have it's an undocumented language.
That's a terrible.
Freaking leaflets.
Terrible.
Like they're gonna pick it up and like,
Leaflet.
interesting.
I mean, at least he
Pentecost,
showed
God
up with
just
the
changes
fish.
the words.
I mean, the football, maybe not the football weirded him out.
Yeah, that seems like an odd one. Is bring a football.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so here's
Bring Western culture.
maybe here's my question: is if you were going to our normal when we say, look, if you have to share, if you're going to share Jesus with somebody, it really helps if you love them first, right? If you love them, and to love them, you kind of got to know something about them.
Yep.
And these fellas have a track record of wiping people out, right? People that don't belong on the island, they tend to arrow.
Yeah, 4 years ago, I think it was, a couple other dudes like got fishermen parked at the island, and they were both killed as well. And then they were set up like scarecrows, like on a stake, on the edge of the island.
Please don't mess around.
No, they don't. You don't come in here.
So, I mean, if that's the case, and you would know that about them, would you? If you felt like God was leading you to do this, you would do it, right? Like
Yes.
this kid did, right?
Yep.
And then
Yeah.
you say, and it's not like there's not evidence in the New Testament of the disciples being killed for what they were supposed to be doing,
Right.
Right, and it just happens.
Right, Paul is unabashed in a number of situations that easily get him killed. Like you're mouthing off to the wrong people or telling that they're doing the wrong thing. Of John the Baptist to Herod. A lot of situations, Jesus to Antipas, and so
in any think of through the New Testament, can you think of any stories where they ran into like native barbarians?
yeah,
Acts, right?
yes, Acts, yeah.
And what was surrounding those circumstances? We
Uh,
got to compare it to something.
they were. It was when Paul got in the shipwreck.
Right on.
Yeah,
And they were
It
okay
was
with it.
Cyprus.
And it
Cyprus.
was because of the fish. It was because of the snake or whatever.
Yeah, they
right?
saw the miracle with the snake.
Okay. And that toned them down a little bit. So,
Although they had already they didn't kill him right away. Remember, this was like a group of prisoners. It wasn't just Paul, right? It was a group of prisoners swimming off from the shipwreck, and they were building fires. And so they'd obviously let them kind of set up and build fires.
yeah. So is it different if you have knowledge of this beforehand, right? That you know that if you Whitey McWhiterson step on this island, they're gonna arrow you. It's just gonna happen. And you go, the Lord will protect me.
That's the point of which I would say it would have been foolish to believe that you were going to escape this thing alive. But I don't know that he thinks that.
His writing doesn't seem to think that.
No.
He's willing to sacrifice himself.
Yeah, so that was the thing, is that like, hey, I think they were calling him an idiot, because he died, but like he knew that. He knew that going into it. His basic deal was that like, if it cost me my life, but I might be able to introduce them to Jesus, I'm willing to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him in the throne room.
Right. He's not up there like going, oh shucks, I should have thought that through differently.
Well, I mean, especially from his writing saying that, like, to his parents, forgive them if they kill me. Like, don't get mad at them if they kill me. He was expecting them to be hostile and to kill him.
Yeah, it's not like he doesn't know what's going on. So the core question is that like, if this isn't the way to do it, and who never knows, like, there's a perfect way to do it, but like, if you can't go there, what are the options here? Do you just give up on the people and say, look, they're going to kill anybody they see, and so the Lord's people don't traverse there? That guy was willing to die that they might know Jesus.
That sounds right. Is being willing to die that so that they know Jesus. I think that my first reaction is amazing for him to be willing to go to that kind of length that God's calling him to, and to do that kind of thing. Like, that's an amazing amount of faith to be willing to do that, especially being willing to accept your death from that, like, that serious of that perspective. But I don't know. Like, it sniffs right to me that someone is called by God to go to a hostile land, which has certainly happened many times in the Bible, and God will protect them. But I think that from our perspective, from our human perspective, it may look like a failure, but that doesn't mean that on God's timetable and on God's perspective, it was. Him showing up for 2 days, one day being threatened and the next day being killed, may have been, a cosmic grand scheme thing that God has that could eventually turn into something for his good.
Yeah, but I mean, so if you take the weight of his impending death out of it, I mean, we've decried actions on the modern church all over the place for doing things that might possibly lead somebody to Jesus, but might possibly do absolutely nothing, like handing out water bottles at a 5K. Where
Yeah.
we're like, well, it could lead someone to Jesus.
Yeah, this seems like the exact opposite of that.
Correct.
Right? Like this is not 'cause that same kind of thought ran through my head is like, I mean, he doesn't have really an easy plan here. You can't even start a conversation really, and so he's even trying to start there. But like he's not doing something shallow and being satisfied. I mean, he's saying this is important to me. I feel like it's important to them, and no one else is going, and so I'm gonna go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have I saw like guys that I respect going like this guy's dumb, and I can't get there. I feel like he knew what he was walking into. He was willing to do it. You can say that he died and that wasn't effective. I don't know that I know that. You could always say, look, there's no reason to needlessly sacrifice your life. I agree with that. But I don't know that there's a better option here.
Right, and I wouldn't call that needless.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, what's the other side of the coin where they say, look, if he would not have died there at the age of 26, he could have had 30 more years into telling the gospel to thousands of other people. But does God actually work in economies like that?
I was going to say, I don't think God works in that kind of currency.
He doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. There's not a track record throughout Scripture or throughout human history
Right,
that God works in economies.
The Scripture
that way.
goes the exact opposite. Is the shepherd that goes after the one.
Yeah. So I suppose he gets the yeah. This all sounds fine.
Yeah, I don't see. I was trying to think of another option. I think the leaflets don't work.
Go in a group.
Yeah, but like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna take a bunch of people. I mean, you could overwhelm them.
Right. Like, yeah,
You could send 400 missionaries there and say, look, you're just flat out outnumbered.
You don't have enough arrows.
But like, that's an invasion. That's not introducing people to Jesus.
yeah, true. Yeah.
I mean, do you do a? I mean, this is obviously just brainstorming because I mean he gave it a shot. He put more stones
Yeah,
on
man,
the
we're
line than I would.
spitballing here.
Right? But like, I mean, do you attempt to try to make buddies with them? Like, do you get like say, look, I'm gonna drop off fish every day. Every day, I'm just gonna drop off fish.
Right. Like that's like the establishment of relationship before bringing in Jesus. Like that feels better to me. Doing that is taking care of a need that they may
Paul
have.
didn't do that though. Paul showed up with straight smacking Jesus.
Yeah, he did do that. I mean, I don't know. Like, you could say, so I think the risk in that way is, so frankly, actually, that's another element of the story. Like, he's there illegally. Go back to our law-abiding citizen.
Yeah.
He's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, but neither are Bibles in China. We do that all the time.
Agreed. Is
Hear
So
that,
we're willing
China?
to break laws as long as it
Go ahead
furthers
and
the
tick
kingdom.
me up for untrustworthiness. I'm part of the problem. I ship Bibles to your place.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I mean that's true. Is like I would not accept a human no where it's a God yes.
Right.
Um,
We are to follow the laws of man, but I don't think that counts when it intersects with our duties as followers in the kingdom of Christ. We are ultimately aligned with the kingdom of Christ more than we are aligned with the laws of the government that we claim to be our own.
Yeah, I mean,
I am a citizen of the kingdom of Christ before I'm a citizen of the United States.
yeah, I mean Christians were dying and being imprisoned for not worshiping the emperor as a god.
Right.
And so that was within a generation of Jesus' time, and they thought they weren't mixing up Romans for them to say, oh well, but I'm supposed to obey everybody, and so I'll go ahead and do this.
Yeah, but see, I think the difference between, say, the hardy Christians of old and maybe us is we feel like there should be no consequence attached to that. Where they'll go, yes, I realize that the punishment is death. I'm not going to do it. So
Right. I'm here.
We'll
Yeah.
decry the injustice of it and go, I can't believe they're doing this. This is so wrong. And those guys will be like, I realize the law is that we cannot worship Jesus. I'm just going to continue doing it. And so just do whatever you feel you got to do.
Right, exactly.
Here we
Daniel
go.
praying continually, not stopping, and
This'll be
refusing
fine.
to pray to the idols of what was that, Nebuchadnezzar
But,
at that time?
and that's the weird part of living in a free democracy like we do is because we will fight for the injustice even when it's against ourselves, right? When you live in an oppressive society like the Christians were in the Roman times, right? You can say, look, there's nothing we can do. We don't have any say in this government, but we're not going to stop following Jesus. So
Right.
I guess we'll just take the punishment with a smile and go, okay, is what it is. But like growing up in the democracy we grew up in, we'll go, well, that's crap. I should be able to worship Jesus all I want. I'm going to work to change that law so then I don't get punished for it. And then and so like when we talk about people having persecution and whatever, that's why we don't know much about it. It's because we'll just change. We'll fight to change it so we don't get the persecution.
Yeah, there's nothing subversive about Christianity in the American population. We are perfectly fine to practice what we want, and we can worship our God with no real persecution. There may be resistance, but there's no legitimate persecution. Whereas, countless times in the Bible is that you choose God and death, or you choose to go against God. And that's the choice. It's not like, oh, there aren't any consequences. It is, I'm going to die for this, but that's the deal.
Yeah, Mike's right, though. Is like our democratic republic gives us the impression of hope, like that we have the power to change something. And so we get caught up in that element of it. We're without, like, we don't want to accept consequences because we believe it is within our power or within our right to be able to change the consequences that we deem unfair. Whereas where Christianity is in places is in oppressive cultures, they don't even have that concept. Like, they know it's not going to change, and so it's a lot simpler of a transaction. And they're not kicking and screaming down the aisle. They're like, yes, we know this was illegal. Yep. Yes, we did it anyway. Yes, we realize there are consequences, and yes, we realize we're going to face them right now. Where we're like, yes, I knew this was illegal. Yes, I did it anyway. No, I don't think I should face the consequences. This needs to change directly.
Right. Yeah.
And maybe that's true. Maybe that's a gift that we have within our with our society to be able to do that. But it does change your reaction to things. As Mike's right, we feel like we will do them anyway, and then argue that we don't deserve the consequences, even though the consequences were very clear at the beginning what was going to happen.
Right.
And to be fair, young man seemed to have all that pretty tucked away.
Yeah.
And he's right. I mean, where it's not like the odds are that if there's no seeds and watering on the Sentinel Island, right? Like, you have to bring the whole thing because there's not another dude coming around to water, and there's not another fella. And so, like, you have to get there and you have to do it. And if that's what God has you doing, then that's what you do. And I mean, it's hard for me to grasp because it seems reckless, I guess. If you're going for the greater good and say, look, I could have talked to the whole country of Zimbabwe for the next 30 years of my life, and there's just as many number of people that don't know Jesus there than it is the 200 people that live on this island.
Right.
Proportionally, it seems more sense to go to the capital and do this thing. But, I mean, you're right. Sometimes we go after the one, and sometimes God has you doing something that just doesn't flat out make any number sense or logical human brain action.
Well, and I think that to call upon the whole seeds thing, like this whole thing reminds me of the parable of I can't remember, the parable of the sower or whatever. The guy throwing seeds and some land on the road and some land here and then, all this sort of stuff. The one thing that only within the last couple of years I really started looking at was the dude that's throwing the seeds does not care where they're going. Like, you plant seeds, you put them specifically where they're supposed to be. Like, you got a row that you put them in. I don't know if anyone's ever gardened, but you don't just throw seeds on the ground and then hope that you get tomatoes. You put them specifically where they go. You plot the land exactly where it needs to go. But the parable there they're not plotting these individual seeds. It is literally scattering them everywhere and throwing them and hoping that things grow. Some land on the road, some land on the ground that's fertile, some land on the ground that's dry. And it's the fact that there's no prejudice of where they're thrown, just scattering. And I think that kind of plays here is, this is exactly where these seeds need to go. It's just, I'm throwing them everywhere they need to be. And this is where they're called to go, is this Sentinel Island or something. And this is where the seeds go. And I love that thought process of nobody else is doing it and they need Jesus. It doesn't matter of whether or not I'm going to get killed. They need Jesus. There's no debate on that topic in his mind. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear a lot of someone else believing that their nothing is better than his something. And I'm having trouble getting there. So, hey, let us know. You got what are your thoughts on this? You guys think the guy overreacted? Should have dialed it back? It was an unnecessary risk, or do you go anywhere? You do anything to help you guys get to know Jesus? Let us know on the complaint line 515-517-0085. That's either call or text 515-517-0085. That's the Live from the Path complaint line. And I did want to say this. So we've kind of been joking over the last few weeks about we're not getting a lot of complaints, but the truth is we've had some people send some very kind things, and we do really appreciate it. It's been very encouraging. To be honest, we don't have a great concept of how many people listen to the show, whether it is helpful for you at all. Like, I know it's helpful for me and it's helpful for the guys in the room, and so we're going to keep doing it anyway. But those have been super encouraging, so I do appreciate that. So as much as we're going to keep calling it the complaint line because I think that's most likely what will be on it. If you guys got any feedback for the show from us or answers to this question on Mr. Chau, just like I say, give us a call or text 515-517-0085. So Mike, are you covered on your Pope style?
Yeah, we nailed it already.
Okay, we're good to go.
Where was the Chau guy from?
It says he was an American Christian.
Okay.
South Carolina.
Are you remembering that actually, or is that just you throw that out there?
You want an answer or don't you?
Like a true answer.
Okay, I can't help you there.
Hold on.
Thanks, Mike.
You feel like
Secular South Carolina.
Do you feel like when they shot the Bible that was should have been
Washington.
enough?
Vancouver, Washington.
Yeah.
That it was what?
That when the kid shot the Bible, like the tribesman took a shot at him with this arrow and hit his Bible on when he was bailing the first time, and so you feel like that should have been, hey man, maybe we should get out of here.
That is a warning sign that the Bible got shot?
Yeah.
I mean, why? I guess no, not really. Why are you putting weight in the fact that it's a Bible versus a different book?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I guess no. I don't think it would be a warning sign if my Bible got shot.
Like an omen is what you're saying, Mike.
No, a sign from the Lord.
A sign from the Lord.
A sign from the Lord that the Bible got shot. Oh, I should probably leave.
I mean, I might think, hey, the Lord's word protected me.
Right. That's exactly what I would have
He
thought.
wasn't using it as a shield.
Yeah, but he didn't get hit. The Bible did.
Yeah.
And
You
so
think-
it's
now,
like those
hold on.
lame movies that somebody gets shot in the chest and ends up being like there's a steel pendant in there that was given to them 2 hours earlier. But
You're under the impression that these indigenous folks aren't expert arrowmen.
Oh, no, they're good.
That's what I'm saying.
you think
They
they're
ma-
expert marksmen and they shot the Bible specifically?
Yes, as a warning shot across the bow. Like,
No.
Do you
gotta
think
go.
they would have known what the book like what the book's significant was?
They don't care. It don't belong here.
They don't recognize the holy book.
yeah, they
No,
do.
they would have seen it.
They
in,
probably saw it a glowing, and they just took a shot.
okay.
at it.
Whatever.
So now
Hey,
it's
Hey,
ethereally
Timogo, they have the scriptures. Shoot the scriptures.
Yeah. You
No.
ready? You ready for this?
No, hey, just real quick. I was just looking about this guy's career. It does say working as a missionary, he had traveled to different countries. He traveled to several refugee camps in different countries, running medical camps, seminars, and sports events. He has traveled to South Africa, Burmese refugee camp in Tulsa, a refugee camp in northern Iraq. In Tulsa, he worked as an outreach coordinator and helped to run a Burmese refugee soccer outreach. In northern Iraq, he worked in the Syrian refugee camp and ran soccer medical camps, organized coaching seminars and soccer tournament to establish a sound relationship with the locals.
So this dude's been in the rough.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's in about
Like
an
the real
hour
rough.
everywhere.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love
Well,
this
I mean,
guy.
that makes me feel. I don't know why it makes me feel a little bit better. It makes me feel a little bit better that this wasn't like his first shot. Like 16 years old youth groups going to Sentinel Island.
He got a master's in health and physical education from Oral Roberts. Yeah. I mean, the guy was an adventurer and he loved Jesus and he went around to try to help.
I mean, that also explains the football.
Oh yeah, he was trying. I mean, I don't know. I feel like that wasn't going to work.
Yeah, that's a terrible decision.
But here's the deal. Like, if they're shooting anybody, like even he came and like proclaimed his name was John and Jesus loves him and whatever, and like we think, oh, hey, they don't like to be witnessed to, but like they killed those two fishermen.
Yeah, they had no idea what he was saying.
Yeah, no, I think he picked up their language. He tried to say it in their language.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It didn't say that.
No, but that was the impression I got.
It didn't say that.
I didn't get that impression at all.
I think that's what he did.
No.
Yeah.
You think he picked up on their specific language?
They don't even have people who speak the language.
Oh, yeah, they know him. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Are you saying that like there are people in India that aren't specialists that speak the Sentinel Island tongue?
I think someone knows it.
Who? No one could get on the island without
Right?
getting
Isn't it
shot.
illegal to go because they're so preserved as a nation?
Yes.
Okay, I'll see what I can find. Continue.
Dear, live from the path. I'm worried for my son. He's going on his first business trip in January to Japan. He doesn't drink alcohol. He's not an alcoholic. It's his personal choice. His bosses, who do business there frequently, are now telling him that the Japanese will not do business with you unless you drink with them first.
Ah, crap, I was wrong.
Yeah. Nobody knows.
Oh, the Sentinelese speak their own language. Almost nothing is known about it and appears to be a language isolated. Since islanders do not interact with speakers of other languages, there are no bilingual translators.
Ciao.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, I suppose there's biblical precedence for walking in and saying, "Holy Spirit, just translate for me."
That's true. I repent of my lies. Go ahead.
His bosses, who do business there frequently, are now telling him that the Japanese will not do business with you unless you drink with them first.
Uh-huh.
Can you find out if this is true? And if it is, what can or should my son do? Worried mom. I got an idea for you. But you stay the heck out.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, you're his mother. If he's old enough to be going on a business trip to Japan, leave him alone.
Yeah, I mean,
He's a grown man. He's got his own job.
hey, listen, you don't have to go over there and get schnockered with the Japanese, but I mean, you should have a sake if they're offering it. Just have one.
I was in Japan for like 9.5 hours, and I don't know.
You have zero experience. In
I have
Japan,
zero experience in
basically.
this, but like I feel like that seems like a movie, like Hollywooded up kind of way of doing it.
His bosses say it. Uva.
Well, my boss told me that I was going to have to wash my clothes in a wash basin when I went over to the Philippines.
That did not happen.
No, I was in a 4-star hotel, and they did my laundry for me.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
She actually shouldn't know any of this unless her son is a whiny, call his mama.
I might have to drink when I go to Japan. What am I
Yeah,
going to do?
mama, they said I got to drink with the Japanese. What should I do?
I don't like rice wine, mama. I don't want to drink.
I mean, you should you just have a couple, but like you just say no when you want to say no. Here's the thing: if you're doing international business, all right, it's not like the Japanese believe that everyone is the Japanese.
Yeah.
They're not dumb. If they do business with Americans, they get a little bit about the culture, and so like they always tell you this. Like when you go traveling to other cultures, they're like, "This is how the culture works. Got to be real careful not to be offensive." Now, here's the deal: that's true for the general population, but someone knows you're coming, generally speaking. If you're doing business over there, they realize you're an American. Just like if a Japanese guy showed up, I wouldn't assume that he's an American and start assume that like he will act an American way or I will be offended.
Yeah.
Like that's
Cheeseburger and
Yeah,
Marlboros?
we give you gifts of Golden Girls.
Would you
and
like
pizza.
a Bud Light?
right. So like if unless this is the first rodeo, which I would doubt it. Otherwise, they're probably not sending this cat over here.
Right, your first time, go bolster the deal.
You know, it's polite to otherwise join in whatever you find is culturally appropriate activities. But like, if you get into number 3 and you don't want to do it, just say no thanks. They're not going to blow the business deal because you didn't have a 3rd round of rice wine.
Yeah, if you're not an alcoholic, what's the problem with having a sake?
It's his personal choice, Boova.
I'm just saying, like, but what's the real issue?
He's my son.
Yeah. Thank you. That is the real issue.
He don't want to drink no alcohol.
But he's my kid. What am I going to do? I don't know why I'm Mexican now. But no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you should totally leave your grown son out of this. I mean, he's successful. He's going to Japan, obviously.
Right.
I mean, they don't
You
just
don't
send
just
a
send the
random boob there.
Right. You don't send the $9.50 an hour guy that flips your fries over to Japan.
Yeah.
Unless he's really good at it. And the Japanese are like, hey, man, do you have a sweet fry guy? Because we need him.
Okay, secular. See what secular says. Secular says, although alcohol can be a part of an important bonding ritual across East Asia, your son may be able to forge successful business relationships in other ways. According to Aaron Meyer, a professor at the International Graduate Business School, INSEAD, and author of, quotes, The Culture Map, Breaking Through the Invisible Boundaries of Global Business. People buy books that I think are dumb.
You think Secular just Googled that real quick?
Yeah. Quotes, if you don't drink, you can certainly find other ways to partake in the fun. In Japan, a round of karaoke or a trip to the spa can do wonders. Yeah, okay. You can't have 3 cups of rice wine, but you go sit naked with the Japanese inside the spa? Yeah, that sounds better.
Oh, man.
Because
That's
your son
terrifying.
is involved in international business, he may find Professor Meyer's book, which was published in 2014, will give him valuable insight. That's a good idea. Our culture has not changed in 4 years. Theirs probably hasn't either. Just roll over there and do what you want. Hey,
Mike, I'm going
fellas,
to get you that book for Christmas.
I don't feel comfortable drinking with you. Would you like to go into Buck Wild inside this sauna?
Yes. I don't feel comfortable drinking with you. Here's Bon Jovi.
In my native tongue.
Do you know Living on a Prayer?
You live on prayer. It's stupid. It's stupid. I mean, that's true. Like, I did karaoke. But did you do karaoke in the
Of course
Philippines?
I did karaoke
Yeah.
in the Philippines,
I mean,
man.
okay,
Everybody sings in the Philippines.
It's fun.
It's terrifying.
But, like, here's... and I said yes to that, frankly, because they were super excited about it.
Right.
But, like, I wasn't, you know... It didn't put me into a moral turpitude, and I'm like, oh, I just can't do it.
I got into a karaoke competition. There was literally a call center wide karaoke competition that like everyone was required to participate in. And so like even the people that didn't want to sing, which was like 2 out of 450, surprisingly, were required to sing.
Wait, what did you sing, Boob?
I sang Michael Bublé's song.
You only had to go once?
Yeah. Oh, I lost immediately. I was a terrible singer compared to most people in the Philippines. But no, they found out I was a DJ at one point in time, and apparently DJ in the Philippines is completely different than a DJ.
Does it mean
here
a
in
guy
States.
that runs the karaoke?
Oh yeah. So like literally when I told them I was a DJ, because I used to DJ weddings and stuff like that, like they found that out and freaked out. And they were like, "Oh, you have to sing karaoke then." And I'm like, "Why are those two things together?" Like I've done karaoke DJing before, but that doesn't mean I'm a good singer. And they were all very disappointed when they found out I was not a good singer.
Yeah.
They were like, "Why are you a DJ then if you can't sing?" I'm like, "Because the other people sang the songs for me, and
we
then I
have
just
low
play their
standards
stuff."
in the States.
Right? Like I don't have to do that.
Yeah.
So, oh man, that was fun.
I danced with the Ethiopian Adam Levine. He looked just like
you
Adam
danced
Levine.
with the Ethiopian Adam Levine.
Yeah, he did.
He looked just like Adam Levine, and then he invites me up to dance his weird Ethiopian dance where his shoulders make weird moves that mine don't make.
What
Yeah.
is that? Oh,
There's legit footage, and he was cool. Like, I mean,
that sounds amazing.
yeah, I fell on my butt a couple times.
I can imagine you were
he
very
looks, he
uncoordinated.
looks just like Adam Levine.
All right,
okay.
fair enough.
Here we go. Last one. Dear Life from the Path. I have some concerns about my marriage. My husband is a retired U.S. veteran. He was married before we got together, and his former spouse receives his survivor benefits. This was something that was decided during their divorce. I am not entitled to anything. I have been a loving wife and have taken care of him for the 14 years we have been married. He has one daughter who is 40-plus years old. I just found out that I am not his beneficiary on anything. He is. This has me very worried. Please let me know what I need to do about this situation.
Have a conversation. If it's really bothering you that much and you've been married to the man for 14 years happily, have a conversation.
So, they've been married for 14 years. He has a 40-year-old daughter, 40-plus, and a first wife.
Yes.
Is it unheard of to think that he's known the daughter longer than he's known you? Feel like
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, maybe he just hasn't changed it yet.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Have the conversation, because there's a chance he's going to go, "Huh, I never thought about it." And then change it real quick, and then you're both happy. Don't assume that it's going to be this life-altering, family-shaking conversation just because it's about money and a beneficiary to life insurance.
Well, how did she figure it out? Was she being sneako? Because, I mean, obviously,
worried about that.
if they were looking at it together as a team, then obviously he
conversation
would
would be
already
there
know
already,
that
yeah.
you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she was snooping like the will or something, which would be really weird.
Okay, here's Secular says, Buva is a yutz. Oh, wow. Well,
Oh, secular.
that was weird.
Oh man, that was
Totally out of left field.
that almost felt personal.
It says, what you need to do is discuss this with your husband to see if he will modify his will, which may have been drafted before he married you. Okay, yeah, we said that. Then the two of you should talk to an, okay, this is where she's going to give you the step-by-step on how to
Oh,
live.
jeez.
Then the two of you should probably talk to an attorney, preferably one who specializes in wills and trusts. That's a solid plan. If your husband is not willing to make an adjustment, then consult an attorney on your own, because as it stands, your husband's estate plan is not fair to you.
I am. It scares me how often we run into the secular versus Solomons that people are asking for help from strangers before they're willing to communicate with their love. In even the most superficial of fashions.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. You're saying, hey, I don't want to have a conversation with my husband.
What's
What
this
should I
news
do?
outlet say?
Oh, I should have a conversation with my husband. Right on.
Okay. Wait, are you saying that I should speak to my loved ones? Man,
Yeah. But he's already against me.
I didn't think about that. We've been happily married for 14 years because we don't talk.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I update my wheel every 5 years.
Right.
I just make sure maybe we should pay better attention to it. But I'm pretty sure that,
Yeah.
I could probably have 5 more kids and not even put them as beneficiaries on my life
The
insurance.
only
'cause-
reason I'm in any way aware of life insurance is because I've been the beneficiary of 2 life insurance policies.
Yeah,
and
right.
it affected a lot of stuff, and that's the only reason I know about that.
Yeah, see? I'm almost guaranteeing he just hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
So just bring it.
Is your will in order? Mine isn't. All
I'd
you're
like
going to get is 2 broken down trucks and a Chewbacca statue.
shoot.
Am I in your will, Ben?
Yeah, I think you guys will get our kids.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's cool.
At least
Here,
our,
take these financial
at least
burdens.
the oldest two.
You
At
haven't
least the
amended-
oldest two?
Amended since the other's been born?
No, I got to figure out what to do with them.
Yeah. I mean, we'll take them.
I think we better split them up.
Yeah, okay.
They're not good for each other. All right, hey, you've been listening to Live from the Path. Thanks for hanging out with us. Really do appreciate it. Hey, go get your will done.
Yes.
Now, hold on.
Figure out your life insurance
Hey,
policy.
listen to me. Or just scratch it on a sheet of paper, like right now. A lawyer just got a sweet form, all right? But like, get the nuts and bolts down, all right? About who gets children, who is responsible for your estate. Just write it down. You can do it in like 5 sentences. Get it signed, and then find time when you can get to a lair or whatever. But like, get it down, put it in the
The
safe
war box.
and then send a copy to somebody.
It's a total pain if you don't have that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, something is better than nothing. And like, legal documents are good because lawyers make good money to fill out forms for you,
And make
and
sure
they've
they
done
keep
it like
punch
100 times. It's not that it's bad, but I'm saying that like it's not any more legally robust than the sheet of paper you drew up. Just make sure it covers the things that you care about. Anyway, get that done. Anyway, let's see. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. Really do appreciate it. We will see you next week. Kevin Lindgren is going to be in the studio. He's got a Kickstarter looking to fund a new album, and we'd love to have you check out the show, dig on that, and support what he's got going on. Kevin Lindgren has always been a good friend of the program, and be good to have him back in, hanging tight and playing some tunes. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.